Hello, welcome to another Gundam Version 2 video. That is the new suit, the Nemo Cannon. And yeah, this is yet another one of the leaked suits that was, well, leaked. And, along with the Ausla and the Conroy's Jagan, right, now we have the Nemo Cannon. And this one's a bit of an interesting suit because it shares a lot of similar things with the regular Nemo. In fact, it's almost just a Nemo, just a support, right? So we'll get there when we get there, and help along with this video. I do have two matches here for you. Now, these are going to be my first and last match of the recording kind of session I was doing, where I was just, typically, I just spend the whole day playing the game. When I get off work, trying to get some really good matches with the suit, trying to get a feel for it, right? Initial thoughts, right? And technically, you're looking at the last match first. And the next match would actually be my first. But last match here, it was going. There was no other map. It was just underground base on raiding. So it's like, hey, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna pick a 450 support. I know the dangers. I know what's gonna be at this cost. And yeah, there were some pretty terrible matches, but I did get one good one. Had a pretty good team. And I want to try out the bazooka. I think it's my first time actually using the bazooka. Actually, no, I think it was my second time. I think I used my first one during the initial release. And the next match is going to be my first match of the day, where it's going to be a majority support team on desert. I'll be using the 170mm cannon, and yeah, that's going to be a little bit interesting because we just get beat to our base. But I say beat to our base, we're kind of like defending it. Really, we're not really getting whooped too hard, but we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, let's go ahead and get right to the stats of this. Again, this is a 450 support. For stats, you have 17,000, oh my god, 70,000, holy shit, 17,000 health with 18 ballistic resistance and 25 beam resistance. You have 5 melee resistance, 20 range strength and 18 melee strength, 110 movement speed with 190 boost speed. You have 70 thruster gauge and 54 turning speed. For slots, you have 10 close, 11 mid, and 12 long range slots. Now, the first thing that jumps up here is that this thing has 190 boost speed, which, yeah, I think this actually makes it the fastest support at 450. Now, and I believe actually one of the faster supports in general, because I believe 190 or 200, 210. I think 210 is the highest we've seen a support go, but the 190 I think is like still up there, which is kind of sad to think about, but yeah, so I mean, technically it is the fastest at 450, so that's fine, right? And funnily enough, this thing has 20 range strength. When at the same cost of 450, the regular Nemo, I believe has 40 range strength. But this is a support, so obviously especially the weapons this thing has, it's just going to be it has to have that, right? Necessitate. There we go. I think that might be the word. In having that range strength, right? Because you'll be fighting majority generals, and you don't want to have 40. Bro, if you have 40 range strength on this, just right off the bat, and then you start adding to that, would be really crazy damage, actually. But yeah. So speaking of builds, I do have some typical just. I think I put on just a little bit of beam resistance. It already is 25. Just put on get like 31, and then I put some typical just both range and melee strength on, because this suit does have stuff that helps it benefit in both of those areas, weapons wise and skill wise, which is really interesting for support to have. But again, we'll get there when we get there. But first, we're going to start off with the weapons. Starting off the primary weapons, you actually have a choice of weapons here. They're all going to be what's on the regular Nemo. And that's going to be the Hyper Bazooka Modified, which is 1,500 damage, 12 rounds, 375 range, which is just a basic bazooka, as you can see here, just using it as, well, again, a bazooka. You shoot somebody, they get stunned. And it does have a cooldown time between shots, or, cooldown time between shots, pretty decent, a 1, and I believe, 7 seconds. And, yeah, again, you stun somebody, go into melee. Or, because you have 3 other weapons here, the next weapon you can choose is the Gem 2 Beam Rifle, which is 1,500 damage with 90% heat rate and 300 range. This is, again, another basic stunning weapon, except, well, it's a beam rifle. It has no blast radius. You just fire at somebody, they get stunned. It has a pretty quick ready-up time, and I believe it's fast enough to where if you use some of your other... I believe your beam cannons here, if you go for a stun, you can easily just combo into this weapon for a stun. And to me, so it does have a benefit over something like the bazooka, where the bazooka is more easier to use, but the beam rifle is faster. You can use it way more efficiently in combos, but it does require more accuracy to use because you're not relying on bazooka and all that, or blast radius, right? But along with this, now you have 2 weapons left. You can swap that out for the 170mm cannon, which is the 1,900 damage, 6 rounds, and 500 range. And yeah, this is the big boy cannon that makes the Nemo very scary, or at least, I guess you can still kind of say it was scary, when it has that weapon. That's the, the big fuck off cannon that you'll see in the second match. And yeah, you fire at somebody, it does a huge chunk of damage, especially since you're a support using this weapon. And yeah, it does have a quick ready up time between shots. Not the fastest, right? But definitely for a weapon of that caliber. And of course, it has 500 range. You have the most range here out of all the weapons you can choose from. And yeah, it does have a little bit of a blast radius. You can shoot somebody. Again, it's like a basic stunning weapon, but unlike the Nemo, where the Nemo really only has Vulcans and melee to work with, you do have some other sub-weapons to work with, right? So it's not just, you're not working with just this and Vulcans and melee, right? So yeah, there's that. And finally, you have the gem rifle, which is 170 damage, 30 rounds, and 325 range. And yeah, let's be honest, it's the gem rifle. I don't think I've seen one person play this with the gem rifle from playing these matches. It's the gem rifle. It can do some pretty good damage, but if you guys have used it, you have to contain your fire. You have to kind of like burst fire, because if you just hold down the trigger button, it will make the weapon really inaccurate. And it does have some pretty stun accumulation, where it does take 15 shots to stun, which, if you noticed, has 30 rounds. That's half the rounds, half the clip. And yeah, that's if you're fighting somebody that is really mobile, or you're not hitting your shots, especially if you're holding down the trigger button, it's not going to be very reliable. It does do some pretty good damage though, but yeah, again, you don't see this a lot. I think the best you can get it is on a suit like the Gem. Was it the Gem 3 powered? Because that one is a sub-weapon, so I kind of wish it was a sub-weapon on here. But yeah, so there's your 4 choices. And for me, I feel like it's either going to be between the bazooka, the 170mm cannon, or the beam rifle. I prefer the 170mm for long-range maps like desert or whatnot. And your choice between the bazooka or the beam rifle. But for me personally, I think the beam rifle might be a little bit better for certain individuals because of how fast it can be used. For combos and the restun value on it, if you're using your other sub-weapon to get a stun, and then you go into the beam rifle for a restun. So I think there's a little bit more value if you can learn to play a little bit better with the beam rifle over the bazooka, but that's just me though. And yeah, you do have a melee weapon. Your primary melee weapon is the Beam Saber late model, which is 1,850 damage, and I'm pretty sure is the exact same moveset as the regular Nemo. And, well, yeah, the best thing about this is that you have force injectors and balancers on this suit. So, I'm pretty sure the Nemo doesn't have force injectors, but, support with balancers is really nice. And as we mentioned, you do have some basic stunning weapons, so you can just stun somebody and go into melee. And before we continue on to your sub-weapons now, this is the end of the first match. Mission completed. Let's see what we did here today at Underground Base with the bazooka. And not on the board, although we did have some pretty nice generals. I'm going to praise them. They did help me out a lot. The Pixie was really good too. And 5th place, 2 and 3, 74,000 damage. And second place in the score, not the best. And unfortunately, I'm going to be getting a lot of... I got so many 5th places today. I think I might have gotten 4th at one point. But yeah, we'll talk about that later. But now we're on to your secondary weapons. Your secondary weapons, starting off, is the head-mounted Vulcan Modify, which is 70 damage, 80 rounds, 150 range. These are literally just the Nemo Vulcans, and they have the exact same stun accumulation, which is non-existent if you're going to be using these by themselves, which you don't want to. You're going to basically be using this to add on damage if everything else is either overheated or you can't use them, or if you don't want to hit your teammates and stun them. They'd be a safe way to add damage in. And of course you can use them for basic just Vulcan stuff like taking out pilots. So there's that, right? So yeah, just Vulcans with a lot of rounds. I do wish they had a little bit different different properties compared to the regular Nemo, but it's literally just the Nemo's Vulcans. I wish they either fired faster or maybe had more damage. Actually, the damage might be different, but definitely the stun accumulation definitely feels the same. It does, have 150 range. So yeah, again, it's Vulcans. The next and final weapon here for your secondary weapons is the SB Mega Particle Cannon ×2, which is 500 damage per shot, because you do have 2 of these on your back, so each one is 500. You fire at the same time with a 40% heat rate and 500 range, and you can charge this. Now, as I said, you're actually firing 2 projectiles at a time, and if you're firing this uncharged, you do have to stand still to fire this, and you will fire a 2-round burst, which technically you're shooting 4 shots instead of, I say 2-round burst, you're shooting 4 rounds, right? And it does take all 4 shots to stun. If you're firing at somebody and only, let's say, 3 shots, because you're shooting 2 shots at a time, if only 3 of those hit, you're not getting a stun. So you do have to make sure all 4, or at least, all 4 will have to hit to get a stun. And again, you have to stand still to fire that. But you can charge this, and you can walk and boost while charging this, which is quite nice, especially given since you are the fastest support at this cost. And you will do significantly more damage with your charge. It is still stop to fire, and it is a instant stun, and it does have penetration, which is quite nice. So you'll use, I think, as I mentioned earlier with the the Gem 2 beam rifle, you can easily combo from a stun on the charge of this weapon into the beam rifle, or of course, you can use one of your other stuns and then use the rapid fire, the burst fire this weapon has. And the burst fire doesn't do too bad damage either. Like, I believe you've hit both shots. Consistently, I've gotten against generals 1,400 with my build. So if you hit that twice in a row, that's over 2,000 damage. I think that would actually be a little bit over 3,000, close to that. And of course, you can go back into melee or whatnot. If they're at a distance, and of course 500 range, by the way, so that is pretty good, and it goes even further, I believe, when you fully charge it. So definitely really good for, as I mentioned, with the 170mm cannon, good for long range maps, and I believe that's what I'm going to be using here for desert, and yeah, really good for sniping. And you do have a shield, the Nemo Cannon shield, which is 3,500 HP. It's considered a large size shield. And I'm pretty sure it looks very similar to the regular Nemo shield. I'm not sure if there's a difference between the health. I forgot to check that, actually, my bad. But yeah, it's a shield. It will save you if you get shot where the shield is. Although, unfortunately, you do have that whole ass backpack on. So do watch your angling, Sometimes the shield is just not gonna protect you if you get, hit in the noggin. But yeah, that's going to be it for the weapons. And then finally, we're on to the skills. You have radar level 3, you have scope level 3, you actually have anti-stealth level 1, you have data link, you have frontline support system, which is, if anybody else has that skill, you have the level 1, so that'd be 5% off of your respawn time. So that means if there's other suits with frontline support systems, that will all just stack together, right? And then you can spawn in faster, which is, nice and handy if you got a bunch of grunt suits. You also have scouting device, so you can see your radar while you're scoped in, and you're gonna fire at people. You have aerospace gimbal, which you can tilt up and down further in space. You also have balancers and force injectors, which is not too, at least with balancers, not too common on a support. So it's really nice to see a support with balancers, especially, with weapons that can help it get into melee situations. You only have 1 melee swing, though. And you do, I forgot to mention, you do have 2 melee priorities. So you will clash with most generals. So keep that in mind if you get into situations to either save your teammates or save yourself from a melee attack. And finally, you do have AMBAC level 2, and that does give you bonus turning speed while you're in space. And yeah, that is it for the Nemo Cannon. And now I'm going to get into the pros and cons. Starting off with the cons, first of all, you have 5 melee resistance, which is pretty low. I mean, given it is a support, but at the same time, there are some really, really scary raids of 450, especially with melee attacks. You have the typical stuff like the the Nero trainer. That will be really, really hard to deal with. You have stuff like the Dommel. If you're going to be running ballistic weapons, you will not. It's going to be hard to stun the Alex CA. the Chobham armor, Alex, and just stuff like that. Where yeah, you're a support, right? You don't have a dodge roll, you don't have maneuver armor, which is weird because I think in the description for this suit they mentioned that it has a shield booster, but it's not using the shield booster at all. I believe the stuff on its back, those are actually called Sturm boosters, so it's not the shield booster, and it's really weird because they make a whole, pretty much almost the entire description for the suit mentions the shield booster, but it's not on this suit, which is kind of weird. I kind of wish it was instead of just a regular shield. I think they would have probably added a little bit more to the suit, depending on what it actually is. I don't know what unless it's the shield boosters on the advanced Hazel. Then maybe I can understand why it's not at 450, but you know. But yeah, so first con is that you're typical support, which yeah, go figure. That's just going to be a con for a lot of supports. Next con is that you do have a sizable hitbox on top of your head there. Your whole ass Sturm boosters on your back. You have no buffers, by the way, so if you get hit there, you will be taking full damage of whatever somebody's throwing at you. Of course, if the general's hitting you, that's going to be less damage, and for Ray's hitting you, that's going to be more damage. So you get no buffers with that. So you have to be careful when you're in situations where somebody can hit you pretty easily because you're going to be taking the damage, right? No buffers. So that's going to be a downside for you. I think that might be it for any major downsides, right? Anything that sticks out. Some pros, you do have quite a versatile kit in terms of what you can choose from for your primary weapons. You have your choice of a bazooka, you have your choice of a beam rifle, you have the 170mm cannon, and you have the gem rifle. And I've seen a lot of people make use of all three, but just three of the weapons. I haven't seen anybody use the gem rifle, of course. And yeah, to various degrees of success in multiple maps. I've seen people try to play the 170mm in close range maps, the long range maps definitely, and I've seen people use the bazooka and the beam rifle, and they all have their own kind of pros, as I mentioned when I was talking about the weapons themselves. The bazooka being a little bit more easier to handle for people that can't aim that well with beam rifles. The beam rifle I think is a little bit better because of the ready up factor, and it can restun pretty easily out of your mega particle cannon stun. And then the 170mm cannon is the 170mm cannon. It'll be doing the most damage, and it has the most range. Oh, by the way, mission completed. Let's see how we did with the suit here in Desert with only 3 supports. Not on the board, unfortunately, but we did tie with our fellow Nemo. And hey, 5th place again, 2 and 3. Again, another 5th place. And honestly, which will kind of lead... Actually, no, I gotta finish the rest of the pros here. You do have some pretty good skills. You do have anti-stealth, which could be helpful. Although, I think the Pixie at this cost has anti-stealth level 3, so I think that gives it 0 meters to work with, so it has to be... By the time you spot the Pixie, he's probably already going to be on top of you, right? But it's still nice to at least have it, I guess. You do have balancers and force injectors, which I believe even the Nemo doesn't have force injectors. So you do have something over the Nemo. It's been a little bit since I played the Nemo, and I don't remember anybody just using force injectors in front of me using a Nemo. So you do have those, which is really nice for support to have. You basically have ways to engage at every range. If you're not using the 170mm cannon, the mega particle cannons can have the ability to snipe from a distance, so that will be your long range. And of course, you can use your weapons for mid range or close range. And yeah, it can at least engage at all fronts, right? And yeah, that'll be it for the Nemo Cannon. And now for what I think about it. I'm going to try and articulate this the best I can. From playing this and watching other people play this, I'm not really impressed with this suit. It does have some good things, like I was talking in the pros there. It has balancers, it has the force injectors, it has some really nice weapons you can use. It has some versatility for a lot of like newer players, right? But having played this suit, I've noticed, having played a whole bunch of new suits that come out, I've noticed a pattern where typically a lot of the better suits I'll see get top placements very often. That could be top individual, top assist, or top damage even. I don't see I don't see this suit too often in top boards. And I'm not just talking about me. I'll be the first to admit that I can be really bad playing a suit, but I can recognize it can be good, right? But having talked with other friends, teammates, other players, watching other players play it, and again having fought against other players, it just doesn't seem as good as the other supports at 450. Like some of the ones I like to play would be like something like the Gundam Gunner or the Nemo Cannon, and this suit just doesn't seem to kind of match up with those suits, at least from watching people play it or trying to do stuff with it. And of course, this is just the first day or two of the suit coming out, so maybe later on we'll get somebody will figure out something disgusting with the suit, right? But generally, no matter what kind of gameplay style I implement, where I would either try to play super sniper with the 170mm cannon and charge shots with my my beam cannons, or if I'm trying to play close range with a bazooka or a beam rifle, my damage just ends up almost just always around 75k. It'll be like 70k, 60 something k, 76k. It always just kind of just stays right there. It stagnates around that area. It never goes too much higher, right? It seems like this suit's kind of limited in the way it is, right? I do wish they did change some things. First of all, maybe don't make the Vulcans the same as the Nemo's Vulcans. Maybe they should change those, like stun accumulation wise, or maybe just make them have more damage, so that way you can have like just some high damage rapid fire action going on with that. I mean, technically you already can do over 100 damage, but you still have the same fire rate as the regular Nemo, so it's standard kind of Vulcans. So I wish maybe they can either that or increase the fire rate of it, increase the stun accumulation, increase the damage, anything with those Vulcans. The mega particle cannons, they're fine. Maybe increase the charge time on it, maybe. It just feels a little bit too right. Again, I'm trying to articulate what I mean here, but yeah, it just doesn't feel as good as the other supports. It feels, I'm not saying it's bad. I don't think it's bad, right? Not bad. I think it's like kind of right in the middle, just okay. Which honestly, it's fine for a suit to come out that's just okay. So yeah, I guess that'll be it for the video. If you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like. Subscribe if you want. I'd really appreciate it. And type up in the comment section how you feel about the Nemo Cannon. Do you like it? Do you hate it? And yeah, again, having played it, it just seems okay. There's definitely, again, some good things about this that I do like, and I might play it just to kind of have that kind of gameplay style, right? Using the beam rifle and the bazooka, going to melee. For 450 support, right? That's not the I say that's not the Gelgu ground type. I'm pretty sure that'll be like a higher level at that point, but you know what I'm getting at, right? Definitely just feels pretty nice in that regard, right? But yeah, I definitely think they probably have to change some stuff here and there with this suit, because it just feels kind of weird. It's also kind of funny to think about how this is pretty much just a Nemo, which is a 400 native suit, and then this is like a 450. It's just the Nemo, but a support with no dodge roll and extra weapon. So, so again, they can probably change some stuff around with this. I do wish they gave it the shield booster, but again, if the shield booster was going to be anything like if it was going to be anything like the shield boosters that the Hazels have, maybe I can understand why it's not a 450. But then again, like I said, maybe somebody hasn't found that secret sauce that the suit has, right? Maybe it has a really good combination of parts you can put on this to actually like make it just really good. But yeah, in terms of recommendations, I do recommend this if you just want, if you don't have a support, this could be a good support for you if you want a decent one. It does have plenty of weapons to choose from. Your choice. You got a bazooka, beam rifle, 170mm cannon, long range sniping tool, a machine gun. So it's got stuff that you can play around with. But yeah, if you already have like a Hyzak cannon or a Gazome gunner, you probably don't need this. But again, maybe somebody's gonna find the secret sauce, kind of like with Delta Kai up at 650, where people was like, yeah, it's whatever, and then somebody figured out how to play it, and they went, oh yeah, this is actually really good. So maybe the suit will increase over the next few days or weeks. Who knows? But yeah, that'll be it, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.